What's up, NBA fans, and welcome to another episode of the NBA Fast Break Podcast. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by the busiest man in the business, in my opinion. All the stuff that you crank out over there, Ben, pretty incredible. But Ben Stinar, gracious enough to give us more of his time that is so valuable, right, Ben? I mean, how you feeling, man? We're coming down to crunch time in the NBA season, playoff position, jockeying. Teams are trying to make it in, and all that good stuff. How does it feel when we flip the calendar over to April?
I know, I like it. Later this month, we're gonna have some of those days where every team plays, and I love days like that. You just get everything, everyone plays at once, right? It's not all these spaced out games.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited to talk today because I usually leave it up to you. I'll kick suggestions out there here and there, but you're the one with your hand on the pulse of everything and kind of keeping track of what's hot, what needs to be talked about. And today you suggested we talk about my Detroit Pistons. They certainly look legit, and they've done something no team in the NBA has ever done. They have tripled their win total from one year to the next. Last year they won 14 games, and they've already surpassed that with, I think they have 43 wins now. Oh, they're still at 42. So they're right at tripling their total from last year. So I guess let's just start there. How crazy is this turnaround? Obviously, we've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, Brandon. One, you being from, I think you live in Michigan now or from Michigan.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So that also, no lie, gave me the reminder to talk about the Pistons. But two is also I just keep seeing them, and I was shocked. I was writing an article the other day, and I was like, wait, Bucks are not the 5th seed, they're the 6th seed. Who's in front of them? And I was like, wait a second, the Pistons have jumped the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say whatever you want with the Bucks, but that's still impressive. And so I think we're seeing a team kind of grow into their own right now. And I think that we also forgot about Cade and we forgot about some of these guys because of the injuries, right? I think that they really dealt with injuries for about 2-3 years. They had a serious injury bug. I think that's what kind of delayed some of their you can make the case maybe there was some roster building issues. But look, at the end of the day, they had some serious injuries. Cade missed a lot of time. And when your best player is going to miss time, I mean, ask any team in the league. When your best player misses time, you're going to struggle. So I think we're seeing now what they maybe could have been a year or two ago if the stars had aligned better for them.
Yeah, you mentioned Cade Cunningham a couple of times. Obviously, made his first All-Star game this season, and he's an interesting cat, man, because he's kind of low key. He's pretty chill. He doesn't say a lot. He's not the flashiest player in the world in terms of style. He's not an above the rim guy. Although if you give him a lane to the rack, he'll dunk it on somebody here and there. But he's just Mr. Efficient. I mean, you look up and he's 28 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds. Like, he does stuff like that night in and night out. Turnover numbers are a little high, but he does have an incredibly high usage as well. So, that's going to come with that a little bit. But what is I guess maybe like the league-wide opinion of Cade? Because here in Michigan, I mean, he's the man. Like, Pistons fans love him to death. But what is Cade Cunningham right now in the NBA in terms of the big picture?
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night, even before I mentioned the Pistons to you. Actually, that's why it was on my mind too. Is I was thinking like, where does that's a good question? Where does he kind of sit?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's now sitting right now in that top. I mean, obviously he's an all-star, so in that top 25 category. But I think one for Pistons, it's good that they've got their own guy now, right? Detroit has needed their own guy for a while, right? They haven't had. When you had Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond and guys like that, like they were good, but they're not like they're not your own guy in a way because like Drummond was never a superstar, and then Blake Griffin wasn't he was the Clippers, right? So I think you finally got your own guy, and I think that nationally, he's looked at as a guy who could ascend into one of those top 15 guys. Maybe he's not going to be the best player in the world ever, top 5 or whatever. But I think he looks like. I think you can start making the case like, hey, this dude could really be a top 15 player consistently if he keeps this up. And I guess maybe I should even take that back because no one thought 3 years ago Shea would be the best player in the world, arguably. So I mean, you never know with some of these teams how they're going to get constructed and the way they're going to put the ball, like the way Shea is able to run that offense. If Cade's allowed to do his thing, I mean, the sky is the limit.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to address something I've said last time, as I was wrong. Not only with the injuries, like that they had a couple years ago being a big boost for them. They signed some grown men, too. They signed Tobias Harris. That's a guy who got a lot of flack in Philadelphia. But for a team like the Pistons where it's a little quieter, it's not as all Embiid, all that drama, Maxey, Paul George coming in, replacing Tobias. He's been able to just be a professional, average 15 points a game, just come in, do his job, show these guys how to play. And then you got to remember Malik Beasley.
What a signing.
Has been an energizer bunny for them.
Yeah, I believe, still leading the league in 3-pointers made. I know he's at the top. He was jockeying around a little bit. I know Buddy Hield was up there, I think, too. Steph Curry obviously made like 20 of them last night or something like that. But yeah, it's just been incredible to see the turnaround, like you said, going from injuries and just being at the bottom of the NBA, and now they're in the 5th seed. So let's talk about that. They're in the 5th seed right now. They have a 42-33 record, just a game ahead of the Bucks, I believe. Let me double check. One game ahead of the Bucks, and 2 games behind the Pacers in the 4 seed. So that's not even entirely out of reach.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that spot right now? Like, how important is it to stay in 5 versus 6? Should they, obviously you just want to move up as best you can. So is it realistic to try to grab the 4 spot from the Pacers? Like, what's that mean right now?
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. I think for a team like the Pistons, I think a team like the Lakers, they should worry about seeding and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But a team like the Pistons, I think you just got to win as many games as possible.
Sure.
And if you're the 4 seed, amazing. If you're the 5 seed, incredible. Even if you're the 6 seed, you'll take that for the last 10 years. What's been going on in Detroit. So I think it's more about, let's win our games. Let's show we can be a 4 seed, right? I don't care if they lose in the first round. Like, I don't care who they play. I don't care about the matchups. Get your 4 seed. If the Pistons can be a 4 seed, who would have thought that, right? Like a 4 seed, right? Imagine who a 4 seed in the West is, because the East is a little weaker. So it's like, I just think that they could be. So my opinion is they shouldn't worry about jockeying. Hey, should we stay at the 5 seed? Should we? I think they just got to win it all out. That'd be an incredible story if they could be the 4 seed.
It is pretty crazy when you look at the comparison. That's 4 seed Lakers, 5 seed Warriors right now in the West.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure you can quite put the Pistons in the category with them just yet. But you're right. I mean, going from 14 wins to now, at least 42. And the chance to add a couple more here as the season kind of wraps up. We'll get out of here. With this. It does seem that the Pistons have an identity now too, which I'm 40, so I was a little guy when the Pistons went back to back with the Bad Boys. I remember it vaguely. I remember having some gear. My dad and uncle's big in the Pistons back then. I was very much in my formative prime years of a young man when the Pistons were making the Eastern Conference Final year after year after year with Chauncey and the going to work Pistons, and they're kind of back.
That's what you were growing up in then, is if you had Chauncey, Rasheed Wallace, and
that's
Tyson
my heyday. That's my heyday, man. That was college, early adulthood. Making 6 Eastern Conference Finals in a row and winning a title in there, beating the Lakers. I mean, that was that. I've always been a fan, but that really kind of took it to another level. And now they seem to have this tough, kind of scrappy Detroit identity again. For better or worse, sometimes they get into it a little more than they should. Maybe Isaiah Stewart has kind of developed this reputation, which fair or unfair, whatever. But again, the city loves it. JB Bickerstaff seems to have embraced it. So I just want to talk about that as we close. What has JB Bickerstaff meant to this team? Is he a lock for Coach of the Year? Because I'm sure he's certainly in the discussion. And just what about that Detroit kind of nasty bad boy identity that seems to be back?
Spot on. I think that's something that's really interesting to see, is that there's something about certain places or cities that, like, they kind of just, like Phoenix, you always think of as like a high-powered offense because of Nash, right? And it's like you're seeing the West Coast late night, like they're going to go crazy, right? And it's like Detroit seems like you need a guy like an Isaiah Stewart who's just going to knock somebody out if he gets too angry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want that if you're a fan, right? Like, and I know, of course, in all sorts there's safety stuff, the Pistons, Timberwolves happen.
Sure.
At the end of the day, that's what fans really want to see. They want to see them not like the other team. And I think the Pistons are showing that. And I think you see in a city like Detroit, and you see even nationally, what is making the Pistons more interesting is that they don't like the other team. They're not doing all the friendly stuff, and they're going at them. Like that wasn't crazy, but it was a borderline argument, altercation the other night. I mean, it got into the stands, not in the stands, but they were not letting that back. Is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's a great point about the identity. And I think Cade Bickerstaff has done an amazing job. He's not going to win Coach of the Year, I think, just because there's a lot of other good stories this year. But actually, as I say that, is it definitive? I don't know if it's definitive, right? But I was going to lean towards Kenny Atkinson, but then I'm like, hey, the Cavs have fallen off for the last couple of weeks. But I just, because maybe that hurts them for the voting, but the Cavs, their turnaround has just been insanity too. And then you got to at least give a nod to J.J. Redick. Remember, he was just called a podcaster, and LeBron's
fair.
They're no joke. I mean, he is and it's like you never want to talk down to the previous coach, but I mean he is night and day compared to Darvin Ham in terms of how they game plan for a game, right? Like they are just so much more prepared. So I think Bickerstaff's in that 3. You can tell me if I'm missing anybody, but I think it'd be Bickerstaff, Atkinson, and JJ Redick.
Well, there you have it. Always on top of things, Ben Stinar, cranking out more articles than any man I know over there on the NBA. And I was super pumped when he said, let's talk about the Pistons today. So I appreciate that, Ben, and we appreciate your time, man. Thanks a lot.